Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa, and I'm here to talk to you today about the intersection between STEM and maker education. And so to do that today, I'm going to go through a few things. One, I'm going to talk about what STEM is. We're going to talk about why STEM is important. Then I'll start to get into this intersection between STEM and maker education. And we'll wrap up by talking about how making and STEM really can go hand in hand. So to get started in talking about what is STEM, I'm going to be sharing some slides with you. So STEM is an acronym. It's used a lot in the education field, but is not always familiar outside of that field. And so STEM refers to science, technology, engineering, and math. But because it's an acronym that not everyone knows, it sometimes can get confused with some other things, and it also has some variations out there. So a common misconception is that STEM actually stands for stem cells. People will think that you're talking about stem cells when you refer to STEM. So it's really important when you are writing about STEM or you're talking with any audience to actually spell out what the acronym means first to make sure everyone's on the same page. There's also a lot of common variations of the word STEM. I have three of them here. One is STEAM, where the A actually represents the word art. So a lot of people say they'll do STEAM instead of STEM, meaning that they're combining arts with STEM. And we're going to talk about that more later on and why that's important to making. There's also STEM squared, which folks like to include medicine in the acronym as well. And also STREAM, where the R stands for reading, to really incorporate the reading and writing and language arts into STEM. So why do we, no matter what you call it, why do we care about STEM? So there's a couple reasons. First, in 2009, President Obama launched what we called the Educate to Innovate initiative. And this was really to move American students from the middle to the top of the pack in science and math achievement over the next decade. So the president really saw that STEM-related disciplines are responsible for many of the societal innovations that make our world a better place. And so, he took that into account and formed this initiative. And, it's an interesting statistic that is according to the US Department of Labor, but only 5% of US workers are employed in fields related to science and engineering, yet those 5% of folks are actually responsible for more than 50% of our sustained economic expansion. So the president really saw this and said, okay, we care about making the world a better place and having a great economy in this country. So STEM is really important to that. And it's interesting because as part of this Educate to Innovate campaign, MakerEd actually has a close tie to it. In 2012, we made a commitment around MakerCore, one of our programs that's still in existence today, to help further that initiative. And the Educate to Innovate campaign initiative is actually broken into these four pieces. One is to build a CEO-led coalition. And so actually in 2010, Change the Equation formed. Change the Equation is a nonprofit with dedicated staff that's really interested in mobilizing the business community to improve the quality of STEM education in the United States. A second initiative was to prepare new and effective STEM teachers. So there's another initiative called 100K in 10. And this involves more than 150 foundations, companies, and other organizations have come together to lead this coalition for professional development and preparation for teachers. The third is to showcase and bolster federal investment in STEM. So the president said, we're really going to put money behind this too and fund programs and initiatives around STEM. And the fourth was on broadening participation to inspire a more diverse STEM talent pool. This is really important to us at MakerEd. It's part of the Change the Equation focus. And the president really made an effort to hire internal talent that were women and other minorities, and also work with the Council on Women and Girls at the White House to help spread that message. So in addition to that, the president thinks this is a great thing. It also really has to do with JOBS, jobs. So this is from the Department of Commerce. And we can see in this graph that STEM occupations are projected to grow by 17% from 2008 to 2018. And that's compared to a 9.8% growth for non-STEM occupations. So the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology has actually concluded, so there's a lot of jobs and there's not enough people to fill those jobs. So what do we do about it? So the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology has concluded that roughly 40% of college students planning to major in engineering and science end up switching to other subjects. So we're losing all those people from the pool. And although women make up about half of the jobs in the US, they hold less than 25% of the STEM-related jobs. And also along those lines, 43% of school-age children today are either African American, Latino, or Native American descent. Yet of all the engineering bachelor's degrees in the US, less than 15% are awarded to underrepresented minorities. So it's really important that we help broaden participation and get more folks interested in STEM. STEM workers actually command higher wages. They earn about 26% more than their non-STEM counterparts. So it makes good monetary sense to get involved in these fields. And in addition, also the STEM occupations on average experience lower unemployment rates than workers in other fields. So that is why we care about STEM and why it's so important. So now I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about the intersection between STEM and maker education. And I'm going to show quickly a little graph that I made, which is a little Venn diagram to show the intersection between STEM and making. So basically they are really connected, but they aren't completely overlapping, but there's a part in the middle that is, right? And so let me give you some examples of where maybe they wouldn't overlap. So in STEM, you can imagine that a student might sit there and be doing an algebra problem for their homework. That is definitely math, right? It fits part of that acronym, but it's not necessarily making. It's not building and creating something. On the flip side, to build and create and make, some of those things can be poetry and language arts focused. So I can write a beautiful poem, and that is absolutely a beautiful form of making that we embrace and admire. But that doesn't overlap with STEM fields. And so, but there is this beautiful place in the middle where they do overlap. And that's what we're going to focus on now. How making and STEM can really go hand in hand. So making really celebrates the interdisciplinary nature of STEM, which is great. So STEM jobs of the future are going to really require innovators, people that are creative, people that are flexible, people that are adaptable, people that can work in teams and that can communicate their work and ideas to others. And that's really what we celebrate in the form of making. You can see three very different projects here. One are art bots, so they involve some artistic movement, but also the use of motors and electronics. The one below it involves actually sewing and pattern making, which involves a lot of mathematics and geometry. And then finally, the one there is making, the guy there is making inflatables. And, inflatables involve a lot of design and engineering, as well as an artistic and beautiful sculptural piece of it. So this interdisciplinary nature of STEM is really the future of what our jobs are going to be, and making really embraces that. The other place we really overlap is making encourages youth voice and provides a variety of access points to learning. So for example, you might have a student who's really, really interested in sewing, and that's great that they love to sew. But a teacher or facilitator of a making experience might put some conductive thread in front of them and some batteries and wires, and then say, okay, what can you do with it? Can you make this backpack light up? Can you sew your bracelet and make it to light up, or the backpack like the girl has here? I have a picture of someone welding here because how I got into welding and a lot of the more handworking tools is actually through theater, through building sets. So it was my love of arts and theater that actually got me into welding. So students might come in and they're interested in music, and that's great. You say, here's a synthesizer, take it apart, see how it works, and then put it back together and design it and engineer it to do what you want. So because we have all these access points to learning, it makes it really great pathway to STEM. And the final thing is actually involves this role of that adult. So maker teachers are really maker facilitators. And it's one of the things that we embrace a lot here. So really, you are learning along with the students in a making program. And so that takes a lot of the pressure off of feeling like you have to be the expert in STEM. You don't have to be the expert. You, as the maker teacher, are really there just to help facilitate a making experience. You're there to provide the materials necessary that might encourage someone to take their love of art and start to investigate science or technology with it. But you're really a co-creator with the youth and embracing that experience. And so, questions come up. They're going to come up about all these science and technology fields. But the great thing what making does is it empowers you to say, I don't know the answer, but that's okay. We're going to find out the answer together. And so that's what I think is so beautiful and powerful about making and STEM. And I hope that you'll agree that they really do go hand in hand. Thanks for watching.